Anna Danesi's book. Olympic and world champion, Italian middle blocker Anna Danesi released a book in September. The book made a big impact not only for its content, but also for the tone and comparisons she used. In the book, Danesi wrote that she did not like Turks and that beating them twice at the Olympics brought her special satisfaction. She described Turkish people as noisy, while calling herself a chill girl. She singled out Vargas and Karakurt in particular, labeling them as players who wave their arms around like crazy after every point, with bad looks and wild behavior. OMG! These bizarre comparisons spread quickly across social media. Her remarks about the players led to accusations of racism and arrogance. I will leave the interpretation to you. Should Danesi's disparaging metaphors be considered part of literary style, or simply insulting comments? The choice is yours. One more note, Danesi never responded to any of the criticism. She closed the comments on her Instagram account. Maybe she was busy, searching for new words to describe her rivals. What do you think? Cuba's assault scandal. This is not only one of the darkest scandals in volleyball history, but also in the history of sports itself. If you're ready, let's begin. In 2016, Cuba's men's volleyball squad traveled to Finland for what was supposed to be a routine friendly tournament. They never made it to the final match. 6 of their top players, including rising Olympic hopefuls, were taken into custody and charged with raping a Finnish woman inside a hotel room. The evidence left no room for doubt. CCTV cameras captured the men accompanying the woman into the room. DNA tests confirmed their involvement. The court ruled that the encounter was not consensual and that she had been restrained and assaulted. 5 players were sentenced to prison terms ranging from 3.5 to 5 years. The impact on Cuban volleyball was devastating. Star athletes were removed from the roster, sponsors withdrew their support, and the country's proud image in the sport collapsed. Meanwhile, the victim disappeared from public view, her story buried as debates raged over lineups and suspensions. What happens when a nation's pride is destroyed, not by defeat, but by disgrace? Years have passed since this vile incident, yet it remains unforgettable. Middle finger. This is a story of disrespect. On May 19, 2024, Dynamo Moscow faced Lokomotiv Kaliningrad in a Russian Super League playoff match already boiling with tension. Players on both sides were pushing the limits with over-the-top celebrations, yellow cards flew, and even Dynamo's coach lost his temper enough to throw water onto the court. But the moment that went viral wasn't a spike, a block, or even a win. It was a finger. Late in the match, Dynamo's star opposite, Natalia Goncharova, caught up in frustration, turned toward Karakurt, and raised her middle finger. Cameras caught it instantly. Within hours, the image raced across social media. Volleyball thrives on emotion, but what happens when emotion turns into insult? For fans and officials alike, the gesture was seen as a clear breach of sportsmanship. In a league where fiery personalities are common and celebrations can feel like psychological warfare, this was a step too far. The backlash grew louder by the day, and disciplinary measures soon followed. One gesture overshadowed the entire playoff battle. What should have been remembered as a clash of 2 powerhouse clubs is now recalled for a single act of frustration. If you've watched this far, you're already a good volleyball fan. I have good news for you. Subscribing to the channel is completely free. Please subscribe and like the video. This will help me grow the channel. Philippines Federation Scandal. When 2 federations fight for power, the athletes are always the ones who lose. In 2018, the Philippines prepared for what was supposed to be a volleyball revival. The women's national team had new talent, a growing fan base, and a chance to prove itself at the Asian Games. Instead, it shined on a bitter political feud. 2 rival bodies, the LVPI and the PVF, both claimed they were the sport's rightful authority. It wasn't about spikes and serves anymore. It was about signatures and seals. You might wonder, what kind of damage can 2 federations create by pulling in different directions? Let me answer that for you right away. Schedules shifted from week to week, training sessions were canceled, and visas stalled while leaders fought for control. Coaches were hired only to be dismissed days later, leaving players in constant uncertainty. The camp itself was described by athletes as chaos, with meetings replacing practices and boardroom conflicts outweighing any preparation on the court. Imagine training for the biggest tournament of your life while being treated like a pawn in someone else's game. The players endured the fallout. They entered the Asian Games without stability, rhythm, or confidence. When the team underperformed, criticism fell squarely on their shoulders, even though their downfall had been written long before the first serve. Brazil's corruption scandal. What if the money meant to build champions was quietly redirected into secret companies instead? In 2014, explosive reports exposed financial misconduct inside the Brazilian Volleyball Confederation, CBV, sponsorship and broadcast payments that should have supported programs and youth teams were instead funneled through shell companies. Contracts were inflated, invoices carried questionable names, and millions disappeared while junior squads trained with second-hand gear and unpaid coaches. The man at the center was Ari Graça Filho, longtime CBV president and later head of the International Federation FIVB. Early reporting relied on leaked documents, bank records, and whistleblower claims that pointed to transactions routed through offshore accounts and companies with no real operations. The headline started in 2014, but the real reckoning did not come until years later. That reckoning came in 2023, when Rio de Janeiro prosecutors filed criminal accusations against Graça and 9 others, alleging tax fraud, money laundering, and false identities. Authorities carried out raids in Rio and Saquarema, seizing documents, computers, and phones as evidence. Prosecutors estimated that roughly $10 million real had been diverted. The dossier described corporate registrations with bogus addresses and firms existing only on paper. They found empty company files, invoices with forged names, and bank movements that did not match any real service delivered. Graça and other CBV leaders denied wrongdoing, saying they first heard of the charges through the media and would respond in court. The Federation added that if mismanagement from past administrations were proven, efforts would be made to recover funds. Despite raids and formal charges, the legal process dragged on with no convictions announced. The prosecutor's findings turned journalistic suspicion into formal allegations and forced the sport to confront uncomfortable truths about its finances. The investigation is ongoing, and no official has been convicted. Wisconsin photo leak. What if the best night of your life, the night you celebrated a championship, was turned into your worst nightmare? In October 2022, news broke that private photos and videos of the University of Wisconsin women's volleyball team had been leaked online. Some of the images dated back to the locker room celebrations after the team's 2021 Big Ten championship win. In them, players lifted their sports bras, laughed, and celebrated like any group of young athletes would behind closed doors. What they never gave consent for was for those private moments to become viral content. The screenshots spread across Reddit, Twitter, and anonymous forums, turning human moments into a spectacle. Headlines turned jokes, and privacy was obliterated in real time. The university called it a significant and wrongful invasion and immediately referred the case to the UWMADISON Police Department. Investigators confirmed that multiple laws may have been broken, including unauthorized distribution of private images, a crime under Wisconsin statutes. But here is the cruel twist. Laws existed, investigations opened, and still nobody paid the price. Yet the internet does not care about nuance. What goes up does not always come down. For these women, young, visible, and vulnerable, the emotional toll was crushing. University officials offered counseling and mental health support, but that could not erase the sense of violation. Reports suggested the images may have originated from a player's phone, though no suspect was ever publicly named. Months passed, no arrests were made, and no one was held accountable.